What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, tigerfitness.com. Oh man, Southwest Airlines is in hot water with one side and in overflowing water with the other side. At the end of the day, what happened is Southwest Airlines has had a policy in place for a long time concerning passengers that take up more than one seat. Usually fat people or I take up more than one seat. I usually sit in the aisle and have my shoulder out in the aisle like this. And then every time someone walks by, especially when boarding, I get a big crotch to the shoulder. I swear to God, my shoulder has at least 17 STDs from simply people boarding flights. As you guys know, I flew last year. I flew almost every week. So it is not a new policy. It is not a new policy. What happened is that somebody posted on social media how they got on a flight and Southwest Airlines had extra seats. It wasn't a full flight. And if you've been on Southwest, maybe it's just me, Southwest has two kinds of flights, either sold out or empty. Okay, Southwest Airlines is either overflowing where there's not one seat available, or you get like two rows to yourself. So this was not a full flight. So Southwest was like, cool, here's an extra ticket. Have fun. Spill your fat butt, your fat sloppy obliques, your love handles, spill them all over the place. You got two seats, ma'am. And she goes, yes, posting on social media like Southwest loves fat people. And so immediately, a lot of my friends who are fitness fanatics, and I had a couple tall people say that, well, since I'm tall, there's not enough leg room. Do I get automatically upgraded to first class? I can make an argument for exit row if it's still available. Plenty of room there. For my brother's a taller guy, not 6'8", but he's 6'1", and exit row fits him just fine, he says. But I'm like, shit, I'm pissed off. I'm like, F you, Southwest. Honestly, I'm going to be real. Like, I am not from a position of liking Southwest. In fact, out of every airline I fly, Southwest is my least favorite. Here's how little I like Southwest. I like Spirit better. I might be the only man to ever say he likes Spirit's one of my favorite airlines. You upgrade for like $50 to the first class seat without the first class service. My wife and I call it faux class, like faux. Anyway, it's not first class, it's faux class. And I always joke around with my wife. She's never flown first class. And I'm like, what about Spirit? She's like, seriously, bro? Because that's the only time we invested in the bigger seats. But she's worth the extra $25 to $50. I'll say it right now. My wife is, maybe, not every time. But Spirit, if you don't buy the faux class, like the legroom, like I'm 5'7.5" on a good day, and I have no legroom. So I can't imagine y'all tall folks, but I digress. I think this is much ado about nothing. And so I read through a bunch of articles, and I had ABC7. I got a lot of information from that. So I'm going to read a couple different articles. And we could do, so this is from ABC7. Southwest Airlines says plus size passengers may have difficulty sitting comfortably in their seats can get an extra one for free. The airline says if an adjacent seat is available, it will provide the travelers with that extra space. Southwest is advising passengers who need more space to book two seats on a flight. So Southwest is saying, hey, you fat bastard, book two seats. However, if there is an empty seat, we will refund that second ticket. I don't see a problem with this. I just don't. I think that is the best way to do this. And I don't think anybody should be mad at this, from the fat people to the people who are not for fat people getting free stuff. I think it's like, hey, you know what? It's a couple $100. We don't have this fat person yelling at everybody. Win-win, right? At the end of the day, nothing's worse for an airline. Like, remember United? Like, they had mask situations where United was like clubbing baby seals over their head for not wearing masks. Not good PR. So Southwest just wants to avoid the bad PR. Like, hey, listen, Tubby, if there's an extra seat, we're going to refund your ticket so you can buy more Funyuns. So here's a quote from Southwest on their website. We've had a long-standing policy for more than 30 years, guys. 30 years designed to meet the seating needs of customers who require more than one seat and protect the comfort and safety on everyone aboard. I can argue that, look, man, one time, and I'm going to read another article, but I'm going to tell you a story, man. One time we were, one time I was flying, right? And I had a beautiful aisle seat. It was pristine. It was gorgeous aisle seat. And I'm comfortable. And this mom walks in with her kids. And they're like, man, we really love these families sit together. Can someone give up their seat? Here I am, Mr. Good Deed right here. Boom. What kind of seat you got? They're like, it's a middle seat, but it's a bulkhead. It's got that room, right? It's in the front. I'm like, done. All right, ma'am, you have a great flight. God bless America. Amen. So I go up there, and there are two 300+ pound dudes resting their, you know how fat people rest their arms on their stomach? These fat and I'm like, you know what? It was Florida to North Carolina. I'm like, it's only like a 2-hour flight. I'll be okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm in the middle. I'm leaning forward and I could feel the jelly rolls just touching my skin. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just get over this, right? So dude literally breaks out a sandwich. He breaks out a sandwich, opens it up, and proceeds to dip Doritos into the sandwich. At that point, between the body heat and the skin and tissue just rubbing on my body, I had to get up and spend the rest of the flight in the galley with the flight attendants because I was about to vomit. So look, man, if they could have just given those two fat dudes their own seats, I wouldn't have had to. Oh, it's the most memorable, horrible flight experience. That and the time that Doug Miller had some kind of a sickness on the way back from Australia, and I sat next to him in like economy plus equivalent, and he was sweating the whole flight. So all this time I had Doug Miller sweat just on my body. Anyway, enough about that. So here's what I'm getting at, okay? Now, this is from USA Today. Zach Witcher is the writer. According to the policy, customers who encroach any part of the neighboring seats are eligible complimentary open adjacent seating. Southwest uses the armrest as the guide for seat boundaries, and its plus-size policy applies to passengers who cannot comfortably fit into the width of one seat. So let me tell you how this might apply to people like me. It doesn't say you have to be fat. So let's say Branch Warren, or let's say Derek Lunsford or Hottie, they're flying and they're flying coach because, you know, not everybody wants to spend not everybody wants to spend $2,000 on a ticket when you can spend $200. I'm one of those guys. Like, dude, all the people who work with the company that, our partner company for one of my brands, like these people are worth more money than I can count. And all of them fly coach. I'm talking about multi-million-dollar CEOs do not fly first class. Put that in perspective. People with money or who work for money and like profit margin will settle for sitting like this for a little bit to save $1,000 because that all goes to the bottom line. Just perspective. So everyone you see in coach, they might not be ghetto or poor. A lot of rich folks sit in coach. Some of the richest people I ever met, I sat next to on coach. You know, that's why they're still rich. So let me get into like another thing. All right. So Southwest is giving these people free seats, right? So even though it's kind of not a big deal, is this incentivizing bad behavior, right? Is this incentivizing bad behavior? For example, a lot of these fat people will not buy the second ticket, but when they get there, they'll be like, I need 2 seats. You guys said I get 2 seats now that it's out there because I'm overweight. So then you have a mom with a baby who has to pay for a whole seat for the baby unless she holds that baby on her lap. I would argue that holding an entire human being on your person, you know, like a little bigger deal than being just fat. So you had a baby, you're prolonging the human species. Being fat, you just really like McDonald's. Like, unless you have PCOS, which is a very low amount of the population, there's really no reason to be fat other than you just really like food and you hate exercising. And I'm not talking about just chunky, a little cushion for the push-in. I'm talking about obese. I'm talking about somebody who can't fit in an airline seat. That's just laziness and gluttony. Sorry. Unless you have some kind of a disease, which is less than 1% of the population. To those people, yes, let's give them that extra seat. So I got a story about a relative of mine who always, when he buys first class. Why? Because he knows that he takes up a lot of space. So not only does he want the extra space because he's a larger person, but he also wants to not impede on the other person who's sitting next to him. Me, when I fly, I can fit coach, but I know I have to sit in the aisle and I angle myself and I'm uncomfortable because I care about the comfort of the person next to me. I never impede on the middle seat. I am always angled unless I'm letting the cart go by. I'm always getting slammed in the shoulder. On the rare occasion I have a window seat, I maneuver myself around so I am not taking up that second seat. So we are essentially, for these people who can't turn because they're built like a soft serve ice cream cone, we are incentivizing them to be lazy. That's incentivizing bad behavior. And right now in society, we need to fix what's going on. And the biggest problem we have as a society, not the political stuff, not the war in the Middle East, not Ukraine, the biggest problem we have domestically is fat people. Because fat people, that bleeds into every other part of the country, be it healthcare, be it longevity. In fact, the reason our country was put in the position it was in 2020 is mainly because of obesity. 78% of the first people who were admitted in the hospital in New York when it first broke out, they were obese. That told me that obesity is a huge problem. The healthcare system is riddled with obese people. It is literally overburdened. That's what's taking up most of our costs. When sickness goes around, fat people and old people get it first. You cannot prevent getting old other than dying, right? That's the only way to prevent getting old. You can provide not getting fat by simply being responsible and making good healthy life choices. But obesity doesn't just affect the fat person, it affects society. Healthcare burns. And also, you environmentalists, you hold like climate change. Don't even get me started on that. Want to talk about somebody who uses up more of the world's resources? The fat people. Fat people use more resources than anybody. So if you're fat and you're complaining about climate change, you need to look for the change from within. Put down the Funyuns. Anyway, who eats onion-flavored chips? What's up with that? I got to admit, I used to enjoy Funyuns as a kid, but I haven't eaten them in a while. So bottom line is, I think Chris Rock, the comedian, said it best in his comedy special, Bring the Pain. You go to Ethiopia, you see a fat person, you're like, damn, how'd he do that? The most privileged people in society are fat people. They are literally so privileged that they can eat so much food and do so little activity that they can get obese. And then after their lack of activity and their selfish behavior gets in the point of obesity, they cry and they complain that there's some kind of oppressed group. Look, man, I was born my color. I can't change my color. If I was born black, I'm black. I was born Jewish, right? I can't change that I was born as a Jew. I guess I could practice a different religion, but my 23andMe will always say a large percentage Ashkenazi Jew. It just is what it is. My wife's Italian. She can't change the fact that she really fucking likes spaghetti. Okay, at the end of the day, we cannot change that. So we are not oppressed. So if someone hates Jews, and I happen to be a Jew, has the same beliefs as those people who hate Jews, other than not hating Jews thing, but they hate me because I'm Jewish, I can't fucking change that. If someone hates a black person because they're black, that black person can't change that. They're just doing their thing. That's how they were born. Being fat, while some people do have a harder time losing weight, it is something you can control. And there is no benefit to being fat other than some men are chubby chasers. So some women might attract men who are chubby. By all means, if you're a fetishist, by all means, be fat. But for everybody else, there's no reason to be fat except NFL linemen. I think being a little cushiony, and sumo wrestlers. But I will say this, Southwest, I think they're making it's a reasonable move. Because I was going to end this with Southwest went from being known from having the hot flight attendants. They used to only hire hot flight attendants. You'd go on Southwest and be like, damn, they're like a 7+ in the flight attendant department. And now they're rewarding fat, lazy sloths. But that's not the case. I actually agree with Southwest's policy. And the reason is it applies to everybody who's too big. So if you are 6'9", you're flying Southwest and they see you and your legs are like just going over the armrests, they're like, hey bro, if there's an extra seat, we'll move you to this. And I have a little, confession to make as well. Flight attendants have seen me when I think I was bulking in 2012. I was like 260 and I was flying, and a flight attendant purposely put me in a row where there was nobody in the middle. She's like, hey, why don't you move over here so you're not taking up this guy's seat? So I have benefited from a policy like this, but I think that was American. But that was just a flight attendant looking at uncomfortable people. So I think this is okay. I want to know what you guys think. What do you think? Do you think Southwest is in the wrong? Do you think they're in the right? What do you think about the obesity epidemic? But I will tell you this. The one way to have better health, the one way to be active is to stay healthy. And that's why you got to go to Tiger Fitness's 8 days of holiday games. Boom! Got it in. Today's the last day of it, I believe. Last deal is Immortal. MTS Nutrition Immortal is 20% off. As it is, it's only $1 a day, the greatest multivitamin ever created. It's in a pack. Anyway, go to tigerfitness.com, click on it at the top, 8 days of gains. If you're watching it after that deal, go to tigerfitness.com. I would like to say we are an American company based in Loveland, Ohio, family owned, and we do our best to not only support our community with a free gym, we support local Little League baseball teams with a batting cage, but we also like to provide a great place for our employees and our customers to come, and it's free of charge to train at the gym at Tiger Fitness. So if there's anything you do, please support us at tigerfitness.com. And we'll do our best to help you be the best you ever. Anyway, guys, I'm Marc Lobliner. Thanks so much for watching. That's not a game. The outright bar was created for my kids. My kids need a snack to eat during soccer tournaments, and also I wanted a bar for myself to eat pre-workout, post-workout, and also throughout the day. You want your outright bars right now. That's why we have a partnership going with the Vitamin Shop to make sure that we're in all 750 plus locations, providing the best price, the best service, the best people to give you the outright bar when and where you need it.